At what point do we see beyond the illusion and into truth? Do we wait until it hurts bad enough? Until crises are impactful enough? When will we realize that with a gentle leap we can rise into the sky? That we can disengage from the stories, the dramas, and the fears? That we may witness with clarity, with compassion, and with love.
Welcome. You have entered the realm of 1111 Talk Radio. Your host is Simran. It's time to discover your own language with the universe. Empower yourself, broaden your mind, open your heart, and discover who you are. Now, here's your host, Simran.
I've been thinking about moving beyond the illusions. That can be a challenging thing to do when there's so much in front of us, all around us, blaring at us, screaming at us. And yet, aren't those the invitations to quiet down, to disengage from the noise, to turn away from the chaos, and ask, is this really true? Is this real? Is this where I want to put my time, my energy, my presence, my power? What does it truly mean to see from the soul? To see from the soul is to rise above the narrow confines of the mind, the ego, and the personality. It's to witness life with a sense of detachment, not indifference, but a loving spaciousness that allows us to observe without being entangled. Right now, I imagine destruction, chaos, war are on people's minds. And in my own soul exploration, what I discovered, as I wrote in my second book of my trilogy, Being the 7 Illusions That Derail Personal Power, Purpose, and Peace, in which war is one of the illusions, is that war is simply a reflection of the war going on inside of ourselves. That self that is caught up in time and money and hierarchy and power, in identity. That war is the disconnect where we're fighting ourselves, and so we fight the world. And when you get 8 billion people fighting themselves, you're going to see a lot of war in the world. But we can change that. One person can make a difference, and every one empowers that difference to ripple out in a powerful way. You see, the soul's perspective is timeless. It's not bound by the ticking of the clock, the demands of the day, or the fleeting dramas of the moment. The soul sees the arc of our journey, the deeper meaning behind our experiences, the collective story, and the interconnectedness of all things. From the soul's lens, we recognize that every person we meet, every challenge we face, every joy and sorrow is part of a greater tapestry. It becomes a dance of learning, growth, and awakening. The soul is compassionate. It doesn't judge and condemn. It understands that we are all doing the best that we can with the awareness that we have. It sees the innocence behind the masks, the longing behind the defenses, the love behind the fear. To see from the soul is to look at ourselves and others with gentle eyes, to forgive, to release, to embrace. Imagine for a moment looking at a difficult situation in your life, not from the perspective of the wounded child, the anxious mind, or the striving ego, but from the vantage point of your soul. What changes? Can you see from a slightly higher view? Can you look past the illusion? Perhaps you can see the lesson, the opportunity, the gift hidden within the challenge. Perhaps you can sense a thread of connection, a deeper purpose, a call to growth. So let's say you can't get to your soul's perspective, and you're really trapped in this human one. I want you to think of a situation or a person or an experience, whether personal or global, that has really got you agitated and anxious. One in which you want to blame. One in which you want to point a finger. And what I want you to understand is that we get to blame from our human self. We get to have that place of pointing the finger because we're only seeing from that small set of eyes. And so I'm not going to tell you to stop the blaming. I want you to hear every word that's coming out of your head and your mouth. Perhaps even record yourself stating all of those things. And then listen back to it and see what's in there in you, not only from the tone and the energy and the mindset that's coming through, but how much of what you blame do you actually do? Perhaps in another place, in a slightly different way, but you do it nonetheless. And that may be a little bit triggering, so step back a little bit more. And whatever you're blaming this person for, what has that person, situation, or experience actually gotten you to do that is of your benefit? Because you have to blame them for that too. If it's empowered you, if it's gotten you to stand up and do something that you normally wouldn't have done, if it's gotten you to reach inside and find your voice or your courage to keep walking against all odds, you've got to blame them for those benefits as well. So let's go back now to that soul vision, that higher vision. Because you see, the human vision is a more clouded vision. It's got a lens over it, a filter of the past that is the cloud of fear, the cloud of attachment, the clouds of blame and shame, deficiency, insecurity. But the soul's vision is not clouded by fear or attachment. It is clear, it's loving, and it's wise. When we rise higher to see from the soul's lens, we become less reactive and more responsive. We move from judgment to understanding, from contraction to expansion, and from separation to unity. This is the invitation of the soul, to rise above the noise, the confusion, the illusion, and to see with the eyes of love. So how do we make this shift from the narrow focus of the mind or identity to the expansive vision of the soul? Well, it begins with awareness. Most of us spend our days caught in the chatter of the mind, planning, worrying, analyzing, comparing. The mind is a powerful tool, but it's not meant to be your master. When we identify solely with our thoughts, we lose touch with the deeper wisdom of our being. The journey from mind to soul is a journey into presence, into stillness, into the heart. What might it look like to live as the soul, to see through the soul's lens in our everyday lives? Let's explore perhaps what that looks like in relationships. Imagine a conflict with a loved one. The mind's going to focus on being right, defending itself, or blaming the other. But the soul asks, what is really happening here? What is being asked of me? And how can I respond with love? When we see from the soul, we recognize that every relationship is an opportunity for growth, healing, and deeper connection. We become less reactive, more compassionate, and more willing to listen and understand. Let's look at maybe work and purpose. At work, the mind may be preoccupied with achievement, recognition, or even the fear of failure. The soul, however, sees each task as an opportunity to serve, to express creativity, to contribute to the greater good. Ask yourself, how can I bring more presence, more love, more soulfulness to my work today? When you ask this question, notice how your experience shifts when you approach your tasks from this higher perspective. If we look at things regarding self-perception, the mind is often critical, comparing, judging, doubting, but the soul sees your inherent worth, your unique gifts, and your sacred journey. What if you practiced looking at yourself through the eyes of your soul, seeing your beauty, your resilience, your light? And what if you practiced looking at others in the same way? You know, I've always written about signs, symbols, and synchronicities, and I mentor many individuals on understanding their own conversations with the universe. When we live as the soul, we become attuned to the subtle signs and synchronicities that guide our path. A chance encounter, a meaningful dream, a song on the radio, a sudden inspiration. These are the breadcrumbs the soul leaves for us. Pay attention to these nudges, these prompts, these tappings of spirit. Trust that you are being guided, supported, and loved. There was a time when I faced a difficult decision, one that my mind could not resolve. I weighed the pros and cons, looked at it from every angle, sought advice outside of myself, but clarity eluded me. And then one day I sat in silence. I placed my hand on my heart, and I asked myself, what does my soul want? In the stillness, I felt a wave of peace and a quiet knowing. The answer wasn't necessarily logical, but it felt true. It wasn't necessarily a sentence or an idea that was really, really clear. But there was a feeling that I just had to put one foot in front of the other, and the way would be made clear. When I followed that guidance, doors began to open, and synchronicities appeared, and then my path unfolded with grace. This is the magic and mystery of living as the soul, particularly when we allow ourselves to follow the soul's compass. When we trust the deeper wisdom within, life becomes an adventure, a dance of co-creation with the divine. I've opened up my one-to-one mentoring again, and I really enjoy working individually with people. It's quite intimate. I'm able to hold their vision with them. I'm able to see through their illusions and point them in the right direction so that they begin to have the insights around those things too. If you're looking for some additional support and guidance, and you really want to dive into the subtle, then there are quite a few options on my website at IamSimran.com that have to do with shadow work or manifestation if you want a more focused approach on a particular thing, as well as individual sessions around deciphering signs, symbols, and synchronicities, gaining a better understanding of how the universe is speaking to you, your particular dialect. But let's get back to this conversation about living beyond the illusion. I invite you to practice seeing from the soul in your daily life. Perhaps take this next week to do so. If and when you're faced with a challenge, I want you to ask, what would my soul see here? When you're interacting with others, I want you to imagine looking through the eyes of the soul, the eyes of love and compassion. And when there comes a moment that you need to make a decision, I want you to listen for the quiet voice within Notice how your experience changes when you drop from your head into your body. Notice the peace, the clarity, the joy that arises within you when you begin to live as the soul, as opposed to living as the identity. You know, nature is a mirror of the soul. The vastness, the beauty, the interconnectedness, the relaxation that nature has, the tempered rhythm of how it breathes in and out. If you're really still in nature, you can see it, feel it, and know it. Perhaps spend some time outdoors, feeling the earth beneath your feet, getting in touch with the wind on your skin and the sun on your face. Notice the patterns, the rhythms, and the cycles. Watch the birds. See how they play, how they glide, how they chirp, how they sing, and allow yourself to be humbled and inspired by the grandeur of creation. It is in the silence that we hear the whispers of the soul, so it's necessary to turn off the noise, the screens, the distractions. It's important to sit quietly, with your eyes closed, and simply listen. What arises in the stillness? Often it's here that the soul's guidance becomes clear, because you see, the soul speaks in very subtle ways, through feelings, images, synchronicities, inner nudges. It's time for all of us to practice tuning in to intuition, to begin trusting the gentle guidance that arises from within. It's time to shut down the noise from outside and start listening to the harmony that's on the inside. When you do so, listen without expectation or judgment. Tune into yourself. The shift from mind to soul is not about rejecting the mind, but about expanding your awareness to include the deeper dimensions of your being. It's about moving from analysis to intuition, from control to trust, from fear to love. That is how you're going to begin to see yourself, how you will be able to see others, and the new eyes in which to see this world. Now more than ever, the world needs us to hold a different vision, to see it in a different way. Beyond the illusion of what we see with our eyes, we need to hold a vision that's clear and pure, one that is filled with love and compassion. This is not denial. It's not sticking your head in the sand. It's being both and. It's acceptance, and it's an understanding of who and what you truly are. Do join my Substack. My publication is Beyond the Illusion, and you can find it at iamsimran1111.substack.com. That link is in the bio description. You'll actually receive all of the 1111 magazine issues on audio as part of that, in addition to the weekly prompt, inquiry, contemplation, and meditation that I provide to all of the subscribers on the annual membership. Thank you so much for spending time. Until next week, in love, of love, with love, and as love, be well.
Thank you for opening your mind to a new reality, your heart to greater compassion, and your experience of aliveness with 1111 Talk Radio. Join host Simran next Tuesday at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern Time to step through the gateway of conscious living. You are not on the journey. You are the journey.